Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Laura in the system office. Our feed is live, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chair Tinsley to get started.
Thank you, Laura. Good afternoon and welcome to the Telephonic Finance and Audit Committee meeting for February 11, 2021. The time is 2:01 p.m. Notice of this meeting was provided to the Secretary of State as required by the Texas Government Code. Please note the audio of this meeting is being broadcast live. Before we take roll call, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phones unless you need to speak. Laura, let's begin with the roll call of the Regents, please.
Okay, thank you. Chair Tinsley.
Here.
Regent Flores.
Present.
Regent Montaigne.
Here.
Do we have Regent Scott? He might be calling in just a little late. Okay, and Regent Harrell?
Yes, I'm present.
Thank you. And do we have any other regents who called in? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Can we have a roll call of the system administrative representatives, please?
Sure. Chancellor McCall?
Here.
Thank you. Daniel Harper?
Here.
Carol Fox?
Here.
Do we have Sean Cunningham? Okay. Nellie Herrera?
Here.
John Hayek?
Here.
Kelly Winnemute?
Here.
And do we have any other system staff on the call? Thank you.
And can we have a roll call for the component representatives, please?
Sure. Let's begin with Lamar University.
Ken Evans, Jeremy Alcott, Jamie Larson.
Thank you. Sam Houston.
Elisa White.
Carlos Hernandez.
Thank you. Sul Ross State University.
Jim Goodman.
Thank you, Jim. Texas State University.
Denise Trout, Lisa Lloyd, and Eric Algo.
Thank you, Dr. Trout. LIT.
Lonnie Howard and Bonnie Albright.
Thank you. Lamar State College Orange.
Tom Johnson, Wendy Elmore, and Mary Wickland.
Thank you. And Lamar State College Port Arthur.
Betty Renard and Mary Wickland.
Great. Great. Thank you. Is there anyone else that I missed from roll call? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Daniel, Carol, and I had an opportunity to review the agenda prior to this meeting. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Daniel, who presents the Finance and Audit Committee agenda items. Daniel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today's agenda includes 9 items: meal plan and residence hall rates, resolution regarding debt issuance, the authority to bind property insurance, 1 routine informational item, and 4 consent items. As customary, we'll lay out each of the agenda items and then seek a vote upon the conclusion of the agenda. The first item is authorization to set meal plan rates. This item authorizes Lamar University, Sam Houston State University, Sul Ross State University, and Texas State University to modify the meal plan rates effective fall of 2021. Each of these 4 institutions have outsourced food service operations. The average cost per meal is around $5, and the overall dining operation is around $37 million in expenditures annually, and the proposed increases are estimated to generate around an additional $1 million in revenue across the 4 institutions. The proposed rates and supporting workbooks can be found following this motion. For Lamar University, it's a 3% increase. The new revenue is estimated around $200,000, and it's going to be to address repairs and maintenance. And again, the average cost of a meal is $5 for the all-access plan, which is $1,700 per semester. Sam Houston State University, the increases are around 3%. The new revenue is estimated at $360,000. and that's to address the increased labor and cost of goods. Again, the average meal is $5 in the All Access plan, and is $2,300 per semester. Sul Ross State University, a 2.3% increase. The new revenue is estimated at $50,000, and again, it's for labor and the cost of goods. And the average meal there is a little higher at $6.70. And Texas State is a 2.5% increase, with the average cost per meal under $5 for their unlimited plan, which is right under $2,000 per semester. Unless there's questions on that item, I'll proceed to the second item. And that item is the authorization to set residence hall rates. This item authorizes Lamar University, Sam Houston State, Sul Ross, and Texas State to modify the existing residence hall rates, again effective fall of 2021. The proposed increases are estimated to yield $1.6 million in new revenue, as compared to $76 million in annual expenses. The proposed rates and supporting workbook, again, are found following the motion. For Lamar University, it's a 2.5% increase. The new revenue is to support the maintenance of that enterprise. The current occupancy is around 92% for the fall. Sam Houston State University is a 3% increase. The cost ranges between $2,500 and $3,400 per semester, and they have around 3,500 beds at 87% occupancy. Sul Ross State University has no rate increase requested for this year. Most will recall that last year the board approved a larger increase for Sul Ross State University, and that revenue structure will be sufficient for the next year. This item does, though, rename the current family and doubles to Lobo Pack, and the current occupancy is 73%. In Texas State University, the increases range between 0% and 3.25%, with housing starting around $3,000 per semester. They have around 6,700 beds and are currently looking at an 80% occupancy rate. Unless there's questions on those items, I can move on to our third action item. It can be found on page 129, and it's the 26th supplemental resolution to the master resolution establishing the TSUS revenue financing system. Annually, we ask the board to consider a supplement to our master resolution that established our revenue financing system in 1998. This is the structure that we use for issuing the system-wide bonds. This item authorizes the issuance of a maximum of $700 million in new debt for the next 12 months, so expiring February of 2022. And that $700 million is based on an estimate of $260 million of new debt, the possible refinancing of around $200 million of existing debt, and then we're asked by bond counsel to include the maximum amount of authority for the commercial paper program, which is $240 million. This $700 million is the same dollar threshold requested and approved by the board 12 months ago. And a full copy of the resolution follows this motion. The next item on the agenda is the delegation of authority to the chancellor to bind system-wide property insurance coverage. This item provides the chancellor the authority to bind our property insurance for the upcoming policy year, which begins April 30th. The current annual premium of property insurance is $5.7 million, and that covers $4.3 billion in values, yielding an average rate of 13 cents per $100 of value. I'll note this rate did increase last renewal from 11 cents, and that rate we had maintained essentially for 8 years since the inception of our standalone program. The property market continues to harden, but our program does remain sound, providing better coverage at a better price. Next on the agenda is one informational item. It is the routine quarterly TSUS status of the implementation of audit recommendations. And the final section is the consent agenda, which includes 4 items. It includes the 5th Amendment to the Lamar University Agreement with Chartwells, and this is conforming changes with the rate increases requested earlier. The next item is the 18th Amendment to the Sam Houston Agreement with Aramark that does conforming changes as well. We have one contract for Sul Ross State University. It's a telecommunications contract. And this agreement was signed by the interim president in 2014, but unfortunately was not presented to the board for approval when it had been amended. The existing agreement expires in 2024. The average annual cost is $210,000, with total spend currently at $1.26 million. And at $1.26 million, this contract would have required, or the amendment would have required, board approval. The nice thing to note is the improvements in the business operations that the chancellor championed over a year ago have clearly shown, a positive impact, and the new process was able to identify that this contract needed to come before the board. And so we're asking for the board to consider it in hindsight, now that we're aware of it. And the last item is at Texas State University, and it is to transfer around $68,000 of a donation from Benny Boyd from the university endowment to the foundation endowment at the request of the donor who is on the foundation board. And Mr. Chairman, unless there's questions, this concludes the presentation of the Finance and Audit Committee agenda items.
Thank you, Daniel. Do the committee members agree to move all of the items to consideration for the full board? Regent Flores?
I agree.
Regent Montaigne?
Agree.
Regent Scott ever come on?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I concur. Thanks to everyone for calling in. Unless there's further discussion, this concludes our telephonic meeting today. For the record, the time is 2:14 p.m. I look forward to speaking with everyone next week.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Same here.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.